Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. If we've never met before, my name is Becca and this is my little corner of the internet where I share houseplant advice, houseplant experiences, living with plants, all of these things. We have a lot of fun over here and today we are going to be discussing my Hoya collection. So I think that it's been like definitely like 2 years since I have shared my Hoya collection. So I figured it was definitely time to give you an update on how these plants are doing now because some of them have grown quite a bit and I'm really excited, and I have some new additions to the family, of course. So we are going to do this in no particular order. Normally I do this in the order in which I have purchased the plant, but I don't remember anymore because everything is just sort of jumbled together. So we're just gonna get started with whatever feels convenient to start with. And that is my Hoya obovata. So this is one of my first Hoyas. I bought this in California a couple years ago, and it has been a very steady plant for me. I've really enjoyed having it. And I have to say that when I lived in Arizona, it was growing a lot better, but I think that's just because it had a ton more light. It currently lives in a south window in my kitchen, but the south window is covered by a tree. So with that, there isn't as much light and, just direct light exposure. And Hoya are one of those types of plants that can definitely handle more light exposure than others. I find that when they have stronger light, they do a lot better. So when they have like really strong light and really high humidity, you're like golden. But with that being said, humidity has been pretty okay. Like my house sort of sits around 50%, but lighting hasn't been the best. However, I did recently repot it. Finally, I repotted it. If you ever notice that your Hoyas aren't really doing anything, it might be time to refresh that soil or get some fertilizer in there. But I had fertilized it a bunch, like I fertilized pretty regularly, and nothing was really happening. But then I repotted it and we have this new leaf right here, and then we have another new leaf right here. And while that might not be that exciting, it hasn't really done anything in the last 2 years. It has been stable and it hasn't killed off any vines. I do sometimes get comments about how big it is and the story and how I got one so big. And I bought it a lot smaller than this and I've just had it for a long time. So there is my Hoya obovata. Next up, we are going to discuss my Hoya australis Lisa. So this is just a little one I got in a plant swap in Arizona when I was living out there. And honestly, it hasn't really done much. And I think that it probably, again, is the lighting and the humidity situation. However, we do have this new leaf right here, which you can see is new because it's so glossy. And then we have another one coming in right here. It's a tiny little leaf with a little bit of pink on it. The variegation is much less, which again, the lighting situation, but it's in this little pot that I actually got from an Instagram sale from a vintage reseller. And I don't know, I think that it's really cute and it sits on a little spot next to my front door and it's the perfect size. Sometimes it's nice when plants stay small because you can keep them in the same spot for a long time and you don't have to worry about up-potting it or finding it a new home when you do up-pot it because, as I've discussed in previous videos, I have a spot for every single plant, and when a plant outgrows a spot, I'm kind of like, shoot, where am I going to put it now? So anyway, Hoya australis Lisa, super cute, and if you buy one of these, they are very prolific given the right circumstances. I feel like if I bought another one, it would grow a lot faster. I don't know, just a little theory that I have. Okay, up next we have my very thirsty, I think I missed this one when I was watering the other day. This is a Hoya Polyneura, and this is basically known for its fishtail-like leaves. So it is thirsty. Unfortunately, I tried to make sure these were watered before I showed them to you, but I must have missed this one, so sorry about that. But you can see that the leaves sort of look like a fishtail in their shape. I have found it to be really easy to take care of, and also this is 2 pieces from 2 separate plants, so you can see they have a little bit different look on the leaves. This one over here I purchased from a seller and it was really bad news. It showed up to me in like a tissue box wrapped in toilet paper, and that was the entire box. There was no outer harder box, so it was broken and it was just like a big mess, but it eventually came around after a lot of rehabilitation. And then this one I bought from Flower Farm. I think outside of Kansas City, the Kansas side. So anyway, really great plant. I find it to be very simple. Like I've never had issues with it. And when it puts out new leaves, it's really exciting. So definitely recommend this one if you are wanting a more like unique Hoya. And I have heard that this one does not like to dry out as much as other Hoyas do, because this one is a little bit more of like a mountain Hoya. And I'm just gonna say this right now. I enjoy Hoyas and I like collecting them, but I'm by no means like a Hoya expert or someone who has spent a lot of time researching them, like at all. I've spent much more time looking into aroids, and I just happen to like Hoyas and they're not aroids. So, you know, I've only got so much space up here. So if you're looking for like a super informational Hoya video, you should check out my friend Adam, Not Dude, here on YouTube. He has a lot of really great Hoya videos. I think most of his collection is Hoya. Okay, up next is my Hoya Pubic Helix, or Pubic Helix, whatever. And it is one of the more like basic slash iconic Hoya. You've definitely seen this one before. Possibly your grandma had this one before. I'd say it's right up there with like the Hoya carnosa. So definitely a really easy plant to take care of. I would say if Hoya carnosa was like the pothos of Hoya, I would say this one is like the philodendron heartleaf or something like that. Like it's very similar, but just slightly different. And the sticky trap is getting stuck in my hair. These have been, this is another one that sits above my kitchen sink, and it has been having some issues with fungus gnats. And so I just threw some, you know, sticky traps up there, and that has really, really helped. But anyway, yeah, it has a bunch of tendrils. This is one that will put out a lot of like long tendrils and like wrap itself up things if you have availability to do that. But if not, it'll just trail really nicely. And it is putting out some new growth recently, which I'm pretty excited about, because this is one, again, that was in the kitchen and it just like wasn't doing that much. So yeah, I'm really excited to see it now growing after I repotted it. And it's in this really beautiful Talvera pot from Green Things in Tucson. And I see this hanging off of a leaf. Here is a little bit of a close-up of this gal. We have this leaf over here. Where is it? Right here, which I think is just exquisite. I love how long it is. Also, I just realized I'm not wearing my ring, so I'm gonna go get that really quick. Okay, we're back. Normally I wouldn't care if I forgot to put it on, but I actually left it on the floor in my bedroom because I was putting lotion on my freshly shaved legs. So did not want to leave it on the floor. Okay, we're gonna talk about my Hoya retusa. So this one I got from Adam, and it was pretty small when I got it. And looking back, it has grown quite a bit. I mean, I know it still looks really small, but it was even smaller when I got it. So I don't know, it's one of those plants that I potted up and I more or less forgot about it. Like it didn't need me, it didn't need anything from me. It just chills out and puts out beautiful new leaves. And also it puts out like one really big flower that has really tasty, not sap, but like nectar. Nectar, that's what it is. Yeah, it has like really tasty nectar. And if you ever see a Hoya bloom and you see like nectar on it, like a water droplets, give it a taste and see what it tastes like, because it's usually pretty sweet. When this Hoya is really big, it looks a lot like grass. And I think that is just so funny. And for that reason, I'm actually kind of glad that mine is small, because I don't know if I really like the idea of it looking like grass, but yeah, it's just in this cute little terracotta pot I got when I was visiting Nicole in Chicago. I got a few of these, and it's perfect for my little plant wall up here. I have a section where I have smaller plants, like this size pot or maybe slightly bigger, and it's up there and it's really happy, and it never really needs anything from me. So there's definitely a low maintenance Hoya if you're looking for a low maintenance one. Alrighty, here is my Hoya Wayari Eye. This one is really fun. I've had it for quite a while. This was one of my first Hoyas, and I had it in like a little 3.5 inch pot for a super long time. And looking at it now in this like 5-inch pot, I'm wondering how it even like fit in that tiny little pot, because this plant is like bursting out of even this pot, and you can see it's like a good size. I thrifted this pot. It was $2. I always forget to take off the stickers top of my pots. But anyway, it was already like really nicely aged when I bought it. So that's always really fun when the pot already has that kind of detail. This Hoya Wayari Eye has bloomed for me a few times, and it's really, really beautiful because it's like a purple, like a deep, deep purple bloom. And it's not one where the flower has like petals. I mean, it does have petals and then they kind of fold backwards. So it just looks like some circles. I don't know, it's an insane bloom and I really, really enjoyed it. I hope that one day it will bloom for me again, but we'll have to see. I definitely stress it out, and I think it's maybe just wanting to fill up this pot before it starts blooming again. So if you are really wanting your Hoya to bloom, really my best advice is just to wait it out and be patient, because they're kind of on their own timeline and you can kind of do things to like convince it to bloom sooner, like I said, stressing it out or making sure that it's like pretty root bound. You can see that we have a new leaf right here. Oh wait, where is it? Right here. It's nice and glossy and it's a dark green color, and I love this one because it has like dark green margins and then the regular green color on the inside. I just think that plants that have that sort of like three-dimensional coloring looks really cool. And this one also sits up on my hanging plant wall, and it's a beautiful addition up there. I love the texture that this plant brings because the leaves are like so long and skinny, but there's also so many of them. I don't know, I just think it's a really great plant to like add something different to a plant section. Another one of my first Hoyas is this Hoya Compacta. This is just the green version, and the Hoya Compacta is a carnosa, but it is a hybrid. There's a lot of different carnosa hybrids. One of them being, you know, the pink, not pink princess, what is that called? The crimson queen, crimson princess. Those are both hybrids of the carnosa. And so this is just another one of them. And I have the most of this specific type of Hoya just because I love it so much. So this one, like I said, is just the green variety. And I originally got this from somebody in my first plant trade ever. So what I did was I was talking with somebody on Instagram, and I've completely forgotten their handle now. I don't know if they're even still active on Instagram. We met up, I drove halfway to Phoenix and she drove halfway to me, and we met up sort of in the middle and we did a little plant trade, and it was super awesome. I think that I gave her like a couple pieces of cactus and other things, and this was like the #1 thing that I was looking for. It was like my #1 wish list plant at the time, which is really cool that I was able to get it, and it was really, really small at the time as well. And it's been awesome just to see it start to cascade down. Definitely one of the coolest plants to watch grow because it'll put out a little bit of stem and then it'll have like little baby crinkly leaves. There's actually one right here. I don't know if my camera likes it, but it's like right here where my finger is. Super cute. I just love seeing all of the baby growth on these. This one has bloomed for me once before. I just discovered this after I said that it hadn't bloomed for me. So maybe one day it'll bloom again and make another peduncle at some point. But yeah, these are the two pieces that are mainly growing, and I have a piece over here that isn't really doing much, but you know, what can you do? It's a plant, it's gonna do what it wants. Okay, this is my newest Hoya, and you know, bear with me, it doesn't look that great because it just came in the mail and it really needs water. But this is a Hoya elliptica. You can't really see the coloring and the texture on these leaves super well because again, it is really thirsty. And I don't have much else to say about this one right now because I did just get it, but I will be giving this some water. I just unboxed it, I think like 2 days ago, so I'm just letting it acclimate, and I'm gonna give it some water and put it in the cabinet, and I think that it'll perk right back up and be totally fine. One of the best things about Hoya is how easily they travel, so I really never worry when I order a Hoya online. I know that it's always gonna show up looking pretty good. And so speaking of a Hoya that I ordered online, here is my Hoya Callistophyla. And I ordered this from Tennessee Tropicals. I order from them all the time. I'm a repeat loyal customer. And this is one of my favorite Hoyas, easily. And it is actually about to bloom. As you can see, we've got the beginnings of a flower right here. And if you're wondering what this one smells like, it sort of smells like, this is going to sound like a strange description, but it smells like if you put a flower in a plastic bag and you left it in there for a while and then you sniffed it. I don't know why it had like a plasticky undertone, but yeah, like classic floral scent plus plastic bag. And this Hoya is really nice because it has such cool like details on the leaves. I really love Hoyas that are super veiny like this. I just think that it's so beautiful, and that's the reason why I bought the Hoya elliptica, the one I just showed you. So I guess I only have 2 Hoyas like that, but really there are so many others and I'm excited to get into those ones too. All right, you've probably spotted her behind me and in the thumbnail. This is my Hoya Linearis, and she's so long that it really cannot fit completely in the frame. Let me just like pull it up so that you can see how long it is. It ends right here. So yeah, super, super long. I've had this one for probably 2.5 years-ish, and when I bought it, it was no longer than this. Like, it was grown all of this in my care, which is so exciting. I've actually really loved, like, throughout the process of filming this video, like grabbing this like ponytail of Linearis. So fun. I had a Linearis once before, and if you watch my first Hoya collection video, you'll see that plant in there. But yeah, I basically killed that one pretty quickly, and I just kind of swore off Linearis for a while because I felt like they were kind of diva plants. And then I got this one, and it was a pretty full pot, and it has just been so happy in my care. It lived in Tucson with me and it moved here with me, and it did really great in the move, and it also did really great when I was living in Tucson. So yeah, all in all, I think that the Linearis is a lot easier than it gets credit for. And I think that if you struggle with a certain plant, like a Hoya, for example, maybe try 1 or 2 more times, and if at the end of that you're still killing the plant, then you can say goodbye to it for good. I definitely have plants that I have sworn off like forever, but if I didn't try again with this one, I would not have this beautiful plant, and I'm really glad that I did try again because it's been so fun to grow. And I just think this one specifically has such a cool texture. Like, this is like so different than all my other houseplants, and for that reason I think this is probably like in my top 2 favorite Hoyas in my collection. It is so magnificent. Up next we have my Hoya, I think this is called a globulosa. No, that's not what it's called. I'll have the name on the screen. I've completely blanked on what this is, but this is a plant that I actually got from Nicole as a cutting off of her plant, and I was absolutely obsessed with this plant. I visited her a couple of months ago, like early in 2022, and I saw this plant and I was like, I need a cutting of that. Like, you're coming up with me. As you can see, it is a veiny Hoya, and it has these really beautiful long lancy leaves, and we have some new growth coming out. So you can see right here, those are 2 new leaves coming out, and it was actually in a pot of soil. I potted it up after it had been rooting for a little while, and then I found out that the root system wasn't as developed as I thought, or I should have waited longer for the root system to develop a little bit more before I potted it up, because it just wasn't super happy when it was in the soil. And then I moved it into water because I was like, shoot, I need to do something for this plant. And so I put it in this water, and as you can see, the roots are definitely taken off, which is really good. And since I put it in here, it has started to put out a new leaf, or like this whole like new growth situation, which is really great. So I will be putting it in soil probably in the next couple of weeks. It is pretty much ready for that now. But something really cool about this plant that I just remembered is the backs of these leaves, and even the front a little bit, have like a layer of fuzz on them. So they just feel like kind of like a pipe cleaner if pipe cleaners were cut like really short, like if you took like a razor on them and it was like the regrowth of the pipe cleaner's hair. That's kind of what it feels like. It's like a peach fuzz. It's really, really nice to touch. And I just really, this is probably another one of my favorite Hoyas in my collection. And actually I should stop saying that while I'm ahead, because I could probably say that about like all of these. I really love my Hoyas. They are so beautiful. I always manage to mess up the ID on this one, but it starts with a B, and I'll have it on the screen. This is another really great Hoya that is kind of a put it on the wall and forget about it type of Hoya. Like, it can definitely take a little bit of a drought, and it's really easy to take care of. I wouldn't say that it's like a super beautiful Hoya, but it definitely has like that nice Hoya energy where it's like big, but it definitely has like good Hoya energy. I don't really know how to describe it. Besides saying that, like, that's kind of cringy, but yeah, it just like, it has all the Hoya vibes, and it's like a really full pot, and I really like it for that. But other than like those reasons, it doesn't really like strike me as like a favorite Hoya in my collection, but it's definitely a plant that is low maintenance and green, and it makes a really nice green spot in my plant room. And like I've said, for a lot of these, Hoya just have a really different type of leaf structure than other plants like aroids, for example. So with a collection full of aroids, it's nice to have something like this to just like break up all of the leafy goodness with something a little bit more viney and like smaller. We are getting down to the last couple. So this is a Hoya that I actually got from a local friend in St. Louis, and it's in this really beautiful pot from Front Range Clay, and I love how this pot has patinaed. It is just absolutely beautiful. This is a Hoya Compacta Manilowa, I believe. So that just means that it has reverse variegation from the Compacta Variegatta the other one that I have. This is what the leaves look like. So you can see that it's like pink on the inside. So it's kind of like a crinkled version of the Crimson Princess. When she gave it to me, it was a plant that she had broken up into pieces. And so it kind of had to reestablish itself, and we've only lost a couple leaves in that process, and I'd say now it is super happy, and it has put out like this end growth right here as new growth, and we have a vine right here trying to start up. Okay, we've got another gifted Hoya. I got this one from Adam. It is a Hoya something with a K, Hoya Callistophyla or something like that. Basically, it's a variegated Hoya Wayari Eye, and it is so beautiful. I had it living in moss for a really long time just because I was like, I don't know like when this is going to be ready exactly. And then I started seeing it putting out new growth, and I finally decided, let's just put it in soil. And it's been so happy. I mean, it is really tiny, but I'm excited for the day that this grows really big and it is like a success story like this one or even like this one. I think it's gonna be really great, and I'm super excited to see that someday. But for now, it is a very little one, and I just love seeing like this new growth with a little pink on it, and I love like the big white margins and like the green on the ends. Like, I just think it's so beautiful. I love variegated Hoya. If you have the opportunity to get one of these like in a bigger version, you should totally do it. I feel like I can't justify it because I already have one, but I could always buy a bigger one and then like pot this with the big one. I do that all the time, but I'm trying to not do that because I don't even know where I would put it. I mean, there is the plant wall, but I don't know. The plant wall has enabled me to buy a lot of plants that I probably shouldn't have, but I mean, it's so beautiful, so I might have to get a big one. I don't know. The next one is a plant that I also got from a friend, and I am just desperately trying to make this one happy. It lives in my greenhouse cabinet. It is a Hoya obovata Splash. So basically, it is a variegated Hoya obovata, and all of the leaves that it's put out in my care have not really had much variegation, and they're kind of crinkly too. And a lot of the time when it starts to put out a new branch or new like set of leaves, it ends up falling off prematurely, which is really sad. And it happens sometimes, but it happens a lot with this one. And I think I'm suspicious that it has like a type of mite that attacks pretty much only Hoya. And I really need to get like a microscope or something to check it out. But I've been following along with my friend Adam's journey through his situation with mites, and one of the things that he just recently did was he put the plant in like hot water, and this is suggested like by people who would know what they're talking about, and it really worked for them to get rid of these mites. So I think I'm gonna try that with this because I just feel like it has them because it's showing a lot of similar signs to other people who have had it. So anyway, I just really want it to grow and thrive, and like I'm not like all that concerned that it's gonna die or anything because I know there's like a lot of pieces on here and it is actively trying to put out new growth, but it is on the struggle bus and I'd like to figure out why, and I'm suspicious that it's those mites. So anyway, one last look. She is just absolutely beautiful and I love her, and I'm hoping that one day I will have a big beautiful plant just like Adam's. All right, this Hoya, it's a little sad right now because it was living in this pot and then the pot broke. It fell off the shelf, and so I haven't repotted it yet, but I really need to because the leaves are getting wrinkly indicating that it's thirsty. But this is a Hoya Chapertie Eye, and I actually got this from Nicole, My Clean Leaves. So as you can see, the leaves are like really long green bean type of leaves. And when I saw this one, this was another one from her collection where I saw it and I was like, yeah, I need that. And so since I potted it up, it was really happy, which again, I'm so bummed that it broke, but it's okay. It put out this really long runner. As you can see, this fungus gnat in my face. Anyway, it put out this really long runner and it's just so cute, and I'm really excited to see it grow into like a big beautiful plant like Nicole's. And I think this would be a really fun one to, like, of course it'd be fun to let it trail, but I think it'd be even more fun to let it grow up like a circle trellis. For some reason, I'm just like fixated on that. I think that would be so pretty. So eventually we will get there. I know that this will grow in and put a bunch of leaves on here. So if your Hoya do put out a big runner like this, don't cut it off. It will grow leaves, I promise. And I mean, if you do cut it off, it gives it more incentive to put like out bushier growth and stuff like that. Like it'll activate more growth points. But at the same time, I like to sort of let my plants grow for a while and then start propagating off of them. So anyway, if you are interested in this one, I highly suggest it. So we are going to end it off with my star plant, probably my Hoya that gets the most attention, and that is my Hoya Compacta Varagata, because look at how long this thing is. It is very, very long. This is like a tentacle, and then we have other pieces over here. In general, it's just probably the most striking plant in my collection besides my really big Adansonii tree, because it is just so long. And in my experience with houseplants, I haven't seen versions of this plant be super big. It's normally like around the size that my other ones are. So knowing that I have one this big and like how kind of uncommon that is, at least in the people that I see online, it makes me feel really good. Gonna be honest. I am a little bit on my high horse about this plant because it is so beautiful, and I love it, and I've spent a lot of time cultivating this plant. I've had it for many, many years, and when I bought it, it was barely sticking out of the pot. And so it's sort of a moment of pride for me to have this big, beautiful plant from something so tiny. And also it is my most prolific bloomer, so it is blooming pretty much all the time, and it sucks that I'm not filming this while this plant is blooming, but trust me. It has like 2 or 3 blooms at a time a lot of the time, which is really exciting. I originally got this one in California, and I will say there was a period of time where it really wasn't doing much, but moving here and having it really close to this south window has drastically improved the way that it acts and grows. And I think that, you know, with regular fertilizing and all of the light it receives, that is really the key to making this plant grow as big as it has. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this video. I hope that you enjoyed seeing my Hoya collection. I know that it was highly requested, so I hope that I did not disappoint. My Hoya collection is definitely not full of like crazy rare Hoyas by any means. It's just Hoyas that I really like and enjoy, and I hope that you enjoyed seeing them. And if you're inspired to try out Hoya after this, or if you are a Hoya head, I would love to hear from you in the comments down below, your favorite Hoya or whichever one of my Hoyas was your favorite. And yeah, I think that'll be the end of this video. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new here. I would love to have you around. We do plant videos multiple times a week, like 3 to 4 times a week usually. And I'm also on Instagram and TikTok. I'm really trying to put more time into TikTok, so if you are over there, I would love for you to follow me. It's just De La Plants on TikTok and Instagram. Okay, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!